Welcome back to the channel. Today's story is about a moment that left the entire Senate floor stunned. When North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis pointed his finger across the aisle and delivered what many are calling the most inappropriate accusation of the year. He had no idea what happened next. Wasn't just a political response, it was a masterclass in how to destroy someone's argument in under 60 seconds. It all started as a routine Veterans Affairs Committee meeting. The chamber was filled with the usual formal protocols, senators shuffling through papers, staffers whispering updates. Representative Jasmine Crockett, the rising star from Texas with a civil rights background, was presenting her bill to expand social benefits for veterans. The discussion was proceeding calmly, professionally. When nobody saw the storm coming, Thom Tillis is known as one of the Republican Party's old guard. Representing North Carolina since 2014, Tillis has built a reputation for sharp rhetoric and never backing down from a challenge. But what he was about to say would become one of the biggest mistakes of his career, as Crockett outlined her proposal to increase mental health services access for veterans. Tillis's expression grew increasingly tense. The progressive representative's suggestions ran counter to his conservative values. He sat quietly at the table listening to Crockett speak while formulating a counterattack in his mind. Representative Crockett, Tillis began, his voice carrying a cold edge. When you propose such expensive programs, I wonder if you're really thinking about this country's true values. Crockett paused. She could sense where this question was heading, but she didn't yet know how far Tillis would go. These programs, Tillis continued, raising his voice, redirect American taxpayers' money toward unnecessary spending. You're constantly criticizing this country, constantly complaining. Frankly, I sometimes wonder if you're patriotic at all. The chamber instantly fell into an icy silence. Tillis had just called a military veteran senator unpatriotic on live television. Even Republican senators shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was crossing one of politics' unwritten rules. Rodriguez slowly stood up. Her face showed not anger but controlled determination. She took a deep breath first, then turned toward Tillis. "Senator Tillis," she said in a calm but powerful voice, "I don't need lessons on patriotism, especially not from someone who never served." Tillis's face reddened, but Rodriguez was just getting started. "I lost my father in Afghanistan when I was 12. Rodriguez continued, her voice unwavering. "I watched my mother serve 2 tours in Iraq, and I myself served 18 months in Syria. You, on the other hand, ... What were you doing during that time, Senator Tillis?" The chamber was completely silent. Everyone was listening intently to Crockett's. "Every word you want to talk about expensive programs, Senator," Crockett said, looking directly at Tillis. "Let's talk about the cost of doing nothing. Do you know how many veterans we lost to suicide last year? It's over 6,000. Do you know how many families I've represented who couldn't get the mental health care they needed? That's not a statistic to me. Those are real people." Tillis tried to open his mouth, but Crockett wasn't finished. "I didn't come to Congress to maintain the status quo, Senator. I came here because I believe America can do better for the people who served us. And if fighting for veterans makes me unpatriotic in your eyes, then we have very different definitions of what it means to love this country." Crockett's voice was steady, but filled with conviction. "Patriotism isn't about blind loyalty, Senator Tillis. It's about having the courage to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. It's about standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. That's what I've done my entire career, and that's what I'll continue to do." Even the Republican senators sitting next to Tillis were nodding their heads. This was much more than a political debate. This was a moment when character, when a value system was being tested. Senator Tillis, Crockett said, concluding her remarks, "If you want to question my patriotism, that's your right. But don't expect me to stay silent while you do it. I love this country too much for that." Crockett sat back down. The chamber remained silent for a few more seconds. Then applause began. First from the Democrats, then from a few Republicans, and finally from nearly the entire chamber applauding Crockett. Tillis sat there, unable to figure out what to say. What he had just experienced wasn't just a political defeat, was a moral. Lesson at the committee chair called for a brief recess. But the damage was already done. Keeley's comment and Crockett's response began going viral on social media within minutes. On Twitter, #StandWithJasmine and #TillisApologize hashtags began trending. Even conservative commentators started criticizing Tillis. "There's no place for this kind of personal attack," wrote prominent conservative columnist James Morrison. On the liberal side, Crockett's response was being called the political moment of the year. "This is how it's done," tweeted progressive activist Sarah Chen. "With respect, strength, and truth." Tillis's office received hundreds of phone calls. Most were critical, but some also demanded an apology. Facing mounting pressure to make a public statement, Tillis finally released a statement. "I want to make clear that I have complete respect for Representative Crockett," he said in his written statement. "Her work as a civil rights attorney is commendable, and my words were misunderstood." But this statement was insufficient for most people. Crockett's powerful response looked even brighter next to Tillis's weak apology. This incident wasn't just a spat between two politicians. It was a test of what Americans value, who really serves, and what patriotism means. Crockett didn't just defend herself that day. She gave voice to millions of people who work for justice every day, but can't make their voices heard. The moment reminded America that true patriotism isn't about blind loyalty, it's about the courage to demand better, to fight for those who need someone in their corner, and to never let anyone question your love of country when you're working to make it more just. In the end, Tillis learned a hard lesson. When you question someone's patriotism, you better make sure your own record can withstand the scrutiny. Because sometimes the response you get exposes more about you than the person you're attacking. What do you think? Did Tillis cross the line? Was Crockett's response exactly what America needed to hear? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful political moments like this one.